All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Wayne's World Garage. Today we're working on the 1956 Dodge Power Wagon. We've had a problem come up recently, and I want to address it. I start driving after 5 or 10 miles, the front wheel starts squeaking a little bit, like, what is that noise? So I took a look at it, and the right front drum is getting warm, just a little bit, and that drum brake is dragging. How many of you all know what drum brakes are? Probably nobody even knows what a drum brake is today, but that's what we're going to take a look at. I have adjusted the brakes before, and I did it several times. So there's a toe and a heel adjustment. I'll explain that. And I adjusted those guys to see what happened, and it starts out fine. After I drive it 5 or 10 miles, it starts squeaking again. My guess is the wheel cylinder is sticking. It's probably 10 years old since I replaced it. So I'll take a look at that and try and make this an easy project. So what are we going to do? I've got a spare master cylinder for the right side, the front right side. So I may actually just put that guy on. The ones you buy today from Napa and stuff like this, they have aluminum pistons. So guess what happens to aluminum and iron? Because it's cast iron, the actual cylinder itself, brake cylinder. You get moisture in there, it rusts, it causes corrosion. So what I have is I rebuilt these ones, thanks to my buddy Jared. I got four of them from him when he was rebuilding his trucks, and I've got iron pistons in them. So I've got to pull them out and take a look and see what they look like. So the first step is pull the wheels off and then pull the drums off. And they come off pretty easy. I've done it all the time. It'll take me 10 minutes. So just before we get going, a couple of comments on these guys. These are the new wheels I got from a guy named Rick Tudor, and they're 17-inch wheels, unlike the 16-inch wheels that come with the Power Wagons. They look like split rims because East Coast Hot Rod Shop painted them that way for me. Thank you, guys. And they look really nice. The nice thing is the run out on these wheels is less than 10 thousandths of an inch, 10 or 15 thousandths. The original wheels, the run out on them is close to 150 thousandths of an inch. But in 1956, it didn't matter because you're going down a dirt road and it's not a 60-mile-an-hour truck. Back in the day, it was 35 miles an hour, 40 if you really wanted to drive like a race car driver. So anybody that's got an old Dodge like this, you probably know this already. Something to think about. The lug nuts on the left-hand side are left-handed threads, okay? It took me a while to figure it out. I first got the truck and like, why can't I get the doggone lug nuts off? Then I noticed a little L on them. Anybody knows anything about Dodges, and I didn't at the time, knows that. But that's the way it goes. Need to be a little bit careful here. These wheels are still heavy. They're 37-inch diameter. The other ones I took off were 39-inch. If anybody wants them, the nice Michelin tires, they're for sale. They're heavy. They probably weigh 100 and some odd pounds each. I don't know why they even put a spare tire on this because it takes 2 men and a horse to change a tire. It's heavy. They're heavy tires. And I'm just kidding, but it is hard to move these guys around. But you'll see what we do. It's pretty safe. So this is the faulty drum. Okay, and I've thought about it for quite a bit. I've played with it. My goal is not to bleed the entire system because that's a pain in the neck on the Power Wagons. Anybody that's got a Power Wagon knows when the master cylinder is a single cylinder assembly and holds like 3 ounces of fluids. You start pumping the doggone brakes and you're out of gas really quickly. So here's what I'm going to start doing. My goal here is to not leak brake fluid out of the entire system. I'm obviously going to lose some brake fluid, get some air in the system on the front right. But what I'm going to do is the threads here that the brake line connects to are 7/16 of an inch. So it's 7/16 fine thread. I'm just going to take a piece of aluminum, I'm going to drill it out, tap it, and that way I can take my connection, or I can take my brake hose and put it in a little piece of aluminum or steel, whatever I make it out of, and it won't leak out while I'm changing this cylinder. All right, so here's the deal. I've got this little piece of aluminum here, block. It's maybe 1 inch by a little bit more by a little bit more. I'm going to drill a little hole in here, tap it, and that'll be my little thing that I put my little copper washer on to secure things so it doesn't leak out. That's the plan. Let's see if it works. So this face mail has brand new carbide on it. After the first pass, I wasn't entirely happy with the finish on the surface. So I said, well, let me crank up the speed a little bit and try it again. And I did that, and it came out well. It would probably work just fine. These little copper washers go on there. But I wasn't totally satisfied, and I'm playing around because part of this is just learning how to use a Bridgeport mill. Only had it for a couple of years. So I ended up, you'll see, I increased the speed, inches per minute, for the rate for this guy. And then I ended up trying a different face mill or end mill. I tried a different end mill on it, and I believe the results in that were a little bit better. We'll see. Take 3. All right, so I being slightly lazy, I didn't use my edge finder, but I found the center of this thing. This little digital readout over here makes things a little bit easier. So I mark here, divide by 2. We don't need math to do it. So now all I do is drill this. What I do when I drill these holes, I want to drill a pilot hole first. So it's a short bit, so it's not one of these big, long, wobbly ones, so I get my hole straight. So let me drill that guy and get cracking. All right, here's my final hole. All right, so let's put some treads in this bad boy and get cracking jacking. So it's important to hold this up straight. But the advantage of these taps, they're nice Irwin taps, it's tapered quite nicely. So if you drill your hole properly, it's easy to get it started. It's not a big deal. Sometimes I'll put this in a lathe to get it going. Not that I turn the lathe on, but just to center it, keep it centered. And let it rip. I put a little bit of lubrication on this. And I learned a long time ago with aluminum, do 2 turns and back off half turn. And that cleans the aluminum out of the cutters. Thank you, Jim Alderin, W4 Radio X-Ray, for teaching me that when I was 20 some odd years old. This is why I like using aluminum. It cuts like butter. And what I'll do sometimes, I could do it is I could actually take this and just clean it out, but it's not even, that's a waste of my time because it's a one-time use piece of equipment. Whew, what a job. All right, so I don't know if this thing will focus on here or not, but I'll tell you what, that's pretty nice looking. And just for giggles here, take a fine threaded bolt and see if it goes in the hole. Check that out. Ooh, is that sweet? So here's the deal, you're saying, man, you got this nice lift. Why don't you use a lift? Well, you know what? The lift's great for a lot of things, but for something as simple as this, I don't really need a lift. It'll take me 10 minutes to put the truck on a lift and get it situated safely. And I'll have it jacked up in seconds. So a lot of times, I don't use a lift. I use my floor jack. First step, take off these chrome covers here, which are not really chrome. They're tin or something like that. Maybe they're chrome, I don't know. But they do look good. They make it go a lot faster, which is why I use them. They really add a lot of speed to this thing. Top end speed increases by about 5 miles an hour because I have them. And they come off pretty easy. All right, now it's going to get a little bit noisy in here, so hold your ears. This is 38 millimeter, because they used 38 millimeter back then in the days. Now, I don't know what in inches it is. It's 1 5/16 maybe. So it's all right, so the next step is take out these 3 screws. And since I've had them out several times and this truck doesn't get a whole lot of mud in it, it's pretty straightforward and easy to do. What you want to do though is if your stuff ain't shaking and vibrating when you hit the brakes, mark which way the drum goes back on. I don't know if it's that critical or not. Certainly the hub, when you do the hub, if you turn the hub, it is. So and the way you get this is a Harbor Freight tool, and you grind it down a little bit and it fits in perfectly. So if you try and take these bad boys off, here's how to do that. Anti-seize is the way to go on these when you put them back in, if you intend to leave them forever, which when I do stuff, it won't happen. All right, so now we got those guys out. take this guy off. How easy is that? Easy as pie. Anybody here know how to make pie? Because I sure as heck don't. So here's what we got. This here is a brake spring removal tool. I don't know how well it's going to work here. Vice grips may be easier. Well, let me just give it a shot and see what happens. It may be easy as pie. And for some of the other pie. Well, the spring's definitely good. Oops. Well, my spring's definitely good. It's in there tight. Not quite sure how to get it. We'll figure this out. Was that easy as pie or what? So, put this around the hub, give it a yank, and there you go. Let me make sure these are not jammed up, because if they're jammed up, we're gonna have a problem. But they seem to be okay. It's exactly what they're supposed to do. So the next step would be to take out the cylinder. And that would be back here. What we got here. All right, so we got this banjo bolt up here and the bleeder screw on top of here. So all I gotta do is unscrew this guy and put him back on. My little piece of aluminum. So let's get ready to do that and see how she works. So let me take my banjo thingy off here and see what happens. Hopefully it'll quickly go on the other thing. Okay. But that's only the theory. So now, I'm just gonna pop this bad boy off. And of course, top of the knuckle is close to in the way, but it looks like I can get in there with a 7/16. Not a socket, but it will be close. All right, so here's what we'll do. Here is the brake cylinder which we pulled out. Let's pop these guys off. They're not very hard. There's two pistons in here. And that's about it. Now, what I don't see, and I should be seeing, is I should see these things springing out. I don't, which is worrisome, which tells me that's your problem, lady, because these things are frozen in here. Well, what the heck's up with that? And why is that the case? Tap, tap, tap. Jesus, excuse me. Wow. Huh. Well, this is amusing. Not if it was yours, it wouldn't be amusing. But let me see what's happening here. Because clearly we have a problem, Houston. That's good to see, though. I'm happy to see this, because this will tell me why this one brake is screwing up, because the piston is not working right. So you'll know where this is going. I'm going to tap, tap, tap this guy. This thing's going to come out flying out. Maybe not. Wow. If I put this on here, if it'll prevent it from exiting entirely. If I tap from the other side. I better put it in stand. Like that and hit it. So here's the dealio. You take your little punch One of these pistons is bigger than the other. You take the small one and push it through, and the other one will come out. It'll come right out. Not about right out, but it will come out. And there you go. Now what do I see here? I see a piston which looks bad. It's not bad, but it's not as clean as I'd like it to be, because these guys have to move freely in here, and if they don't, you can have a problem. And sadly, there's corrosion on it, but it's 10 years old, which now makes me nervous about the other ones. What are the other ones looking like, Jack? So we're gonna have to find that out too. Ooh, this one popped right out. So here's my two pistons. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's too bad. Very too bad. But can they be saved? Or should I just put the aluminum ones back in there? You guys let me know. I'll clean these guys up and see what they look like, I guess. Let's look inside here. No. That's not very positive either. Oh well. We'll make it work. Nothing a little bit of JB Weld won't fix, huh? Wow. Wow, wow. All right, so after significant evaluation, I've decided to use a Napper one. Free delivery, over $30. And I'm looking at it. I like it. It's got the brass thing up here instead of this one, which is steel. It doesn't have the rubber little cap on it. Maybe it's in the box someplace. Certainly, this has some issues, and it's a little bit embarrassing because I keep pretty good care of my systems, my brake system, but this is all screwed up. That's for sure. It's pitted, and it was probably pitted before, but I think what may have happened is a little bit of brake fluid weeped out of it, and brake fluid being hydroscopic, it attracts water. It probably caused water to rust into it. So we're gonna have to go with this one, and let's get cracking and move on here. So here's the dealio. I did put the new one in, because the old one I'm just not comfortable with. They're heavily spring loaded, so the pistons push out because of spring, and that's what they should do. If these rubber seals were not here, the piston and spring will go flying out. So make sure these guys are on, get them lined up. But now, when you go to put the spring on, that's kind of tricky because the spring here, you can only pull it so hard. And this is out 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch on that side, 1/2 inch. It's out an extra inch and it's harder to pull. So you take your little ratchet strap it, which most people can't use, strap it down just to hold it tight there, and then put the spring back on and we're ready to go. Now, I'm trying something new here. I've never done this before, but it should work theoretically, is gravity bleeding this thing. So bleeding the Power Wagons can be a challenge. I only opened up this one brake cylinder, so it should work. And certainly when I unscrewed my little mechanism I made, it was dripping fluid. So gravity should fill it up and it should drip out of here and I should be good to go. So we'll let you know. Alrighty, so there you go. Now the spring is on, perfect. The ratchet strap makes it doable. If you don't have the ratchet strap, it won't happen. I didn't want to record this. I didn't want to film this because it's usually four letter explicitives, swear words, and the little munchkins probably don't want to hear that. But it's just a little bit tough to do. But you put this guy on here, grab a pair of vice grips on that one, and then pry it around the hub here, and it works out pretty doggone well. So optimistically, it works good. But now, of course, to be a good doobie, we're going to take all the brake fluid off this thing, spray him down. With any luck, he will bleed out by himself, and then I'll be good to go, and I'll be a happy camper. But the sad part is I probably need to get three other cylinders here because they probably all look like dogs. Well, no, I like dogs. They probably all look like rusty buckets or something. Anyway, boat anchors. All right, well, here's the story. It does appear that this brake bleeding scheme may be doing something which I expect. So I look in here, it's got brake fluid in it. And the only way for that to happen, it's got to fill up the cylinder and come out the top. So we're going to close her off and call it done. How about that? How exciting. You didn't hear that? Of course, I spilled some on myself because you can't do these jobs without getting full of brake fluid. Crank this down a little bit. And this is clearly brass, which you can't see, and I'm too lazy to move the camera because I don't have viewers, but crank that guy down a little bit, tater chip. There you go. And now, let's put a drum on it and see what she feels like. So remember, when we put this on, try and put it on the same way you took it off. I got a little mark here on my drum. Got there, mark on the hoop. There we go. There's 3 of these little screws in here. They look like they're, I don't know, 3/8 by whatever. So put them on, they hold the drum on, but I do believe when you put the wheel on, it will change things a little bit because the wheel is cranked down to hundreds of foot-pounds, 200 and some odd foot-pounds. So it might change that a little bit. Maybe not. I think in an ideal world it would make a rip of difference, but I don't live in an ideal world. I should see if I got a pedal. Let's try that out. Alrighty, here we go. Which one's the brake here? That feels good. I can't really tell until I drive it, but I got some pedal at least. I still may need to bleed it out, but I kind of like this way. We'll see. It's a lazy man's way of bleeding it because I don't have a pressure cap on this guy. I have to release the line. I gotta modify that and fix it, but not today. All right, guys. Well, that wraps up another episode of Wayne's World Garage. We're going to take this guy out for a test drive as soon as the rain stops and the weather gets a little bit better in the next day or two, and I'll report back to you how it's working. I hope this didn't put you to sleep. I hope it's not too boring. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favor, subscribe and give it a thumbs up. And please leave a comment. Positive, negative, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Say whatever you want to say. Take care and have a great day.